On stage 2 of today's show, I want to talk about something that Manny brought attention to me. I believe Chris was watching it as well. It was the High Score documentary on Netflix, which, man, I sat down to watch that first episode based on what you guys were telling me. I mean, I had an eye on it because I saw the trailer, but I was like, I watch it when I had the time. But as soon as I watched the first one, I said, man, I cannot call myself like game commentary on YouTube if I don't watch this, because this is pretty much history, man. It's history. It is basically the video game history, how video games came to be out from nothing to the multi-billion moneymaker corporation that it is right now. So the first question I have for you guys is, did you guys enjoy this documentary?
I certainly did. And before I even go further into my questions or my answer, I cannot give this credit to myself because my wife was actually the one that was the one that spot this up. So shout out to
our
my
sponsor,
wife.
Sam.
Yeah.
Or some Sam. What is it? Sam Goody?
Sammy Sweets.
Sammy Sweets.
She does some awesome cookies, yo. We'll post that in the description below. So for all you guys who actually want to try that, check out her Instagram.
Overflowing with cookie orders.
No, they're pretty good. She does some crazy stuff. But I did enjoy the documentary. And then it's just like you said, Will, it just doesn't make any sense. If it wasn't for that, I mean, this is pretty much why we do this to begin with, because without stuff that happened, we actually would not have things to talk about now in terms of like current gen games. So why not? It's only fair we just, pay respects to like how everything started, and then just see it evolve the way it did in such a short amount of time too, which is freaking nuts. But no, it was awesome. It was good to like know the history of like how everything started and like how they just were able to just create stuff not out of the fly, but like, dang, like I wish I came up with this type of stuff was like what I was thinking of when I was watching this.
I was going to ask, I was going to ask when you guys said this was going to be a subject. I was like, okay, I'm going to save this for the podcast. Have either of you guys seen The King of Kong?
I don't think I did, man.
So
it sounds familiar though.
So this one was for me. This one was so exciting for me, and I'm actually still in the middle of it. I haven't finished, so they probably don't bring it up because I've gotten past the arcade-ish parts. But there's a documentary called The King of Kong, which follows.
The guy that broke the record.
So this is a different subject, but that's the thing about High Score is that they sort of do this so often where they talk about the best player in an older game. And there's an entire documentary about that called The King of Kong, where it's Billy Mitchell who has over 1 million points in Donkey Kong, and then it follows another guy that sort of passes the high score, and they make for about an hour and some change of a documentary. There's that, and then one or two other smaller video game ones, which is such a pleasant, nostalgic feeling. Like it feels good. It feels nice to, like when they went back to the what is the Nintendo cartridge, the Nintendo Championship?
The national championships, Nintendo. I believe those were in the 90s or something like that. And again, coming to the topic of high scores and Billy Mitchell, I believe that's one of the topics that they touch on the documentary, because they were talking about replayability. So what makes the gamer go back and try it again and try it again and try it again? And one of the things that we're discussing was the score. Like we have that intuitive, like competitive likeness within ourselves. So we always want to be that high score. Before, when the games first started, looking at Asteroids and Pong, there wasn't any stories. It was just basically an activity to do.
Just want your initials on the board.
Correct. And the way for them to actually attract you to keep playing and be better at that without getting bored was, let's add a score. And just people were trying to beat each other's scores. So it's very clever how they incentivized that little hamster wheel there. So people just kept coming back when the time back in the day, there wasn't anything pulling you to come back except the score.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. I also like the fact that they discussed not only that, but the titles of those episodes were really cool. It was like the Comeback Kid, which basically was Nintendo when they first incorporated becoming from a card playing company and a toy company incorporating stuff to become a video game company and become back in the day
Titan, man.
Yeah, the video game company back in the day. And then they, dude, and I believe this was my most favorite episode. And for whoever hasn't watched this, please go watch. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. It's on Netflix. It's free, High Scores. Well, not free. You're paying for it. But I mean, it's High Scores. It's 6 episodes. Watch it. It's really cool, really interesting. I believe episode 3 was my favorite, Role Players. Because yeah, and again, and my reason why was because they just introduced us to how storytelling was merging with gaming at that point. That back in the day, it was just, high scores. It was just Donkey Kong, which basically was this little plumber jumping over things to rescue the damsel in distress. Asteroid, which is basically stay alive, beating the high scores. Pong, Pac-Man, which is basically survive those little phantoms. But there's
Space Invaders.
Space Invaders. But there wasn't
Missile Command.
Oh, Missile Command, yeah.
Beautiful examples, but there wasn't any storytelling ones. There was no a hero's tale or something like that. And they were talking about that merge between Dungeons and Dragons, what Dungeons and Dragons was back in the day, and how that inspired role-playing games. And to be honest, dude, I don't know about you guys, but to me, role-playing games, it's what got me into gaming. Like back in the day, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Legend of Zelda. That's what got me involved in this, because I was a kid. I didn't like to read. I hate reading. I knew how to read, but I just hated it. To me, it was super boring.
It was boring. There's no killing at all in reading. There's no power-ups.
I was trying to imagine all this shit. I was like, man, no. I mean, I can spend like 3 or 4 hours reading this. I'm not getting into the 3 or 4 pages. I don't know. I wasn't good at reading. But games, I mean, I read the story through the games, but because they were showing me something, it was so much easier for me to get introduced to this world. And I have visual like gratification in that case. So not only it was like me watching a movie, but it was me participating on this movie and moving through the stories and me handling the details of that story.
Yeah.
So to me, it was really great, and it just activated a lot of nostalgia on that part. I don't know, guys. What were your favorite games when you were kids? Was it role-playing games? Was it sport games? What was it?
Mine was all over the board. I mean, I think it became kind of clear over the past few podcasts. I was playing everything, but like my favorites that stuck out were the golden ones. Super Mario Brothers, Sonic the Hedgehog. Those are ones that I'd play 150 times over and over and over just to beat. No high score needed. And then after they had been mastered, Sonic 2 would come out, or Mario 2, Mario 3 would come out. Man, I mean, they actually talk about it in the documentary, but the library ends up getting so big that it's overwhelming for most families, myself included, because I found myself in the earlier 90s. I was in 1996. I was 6 and 7 and 8 or whatever. So every time I'd get a new game, I'd have to guess if it was good based off of the box art, and it would just be, and there's that marketing lady talks about
the worst lies because the box art didn't look anything like the freaking product.
But then you're stuck with it, man. Then you're stuck with it either way, and you better enjoy it.
I mean, you still had to use your imagination for these games. I mean, they were not perfect back then. Nowadays, they look like freaking movie projects. Like, they're insane. But back in the day, I believe the first Final Fantasy that I played was Final Fantasy 4, and dude, that didn't look at all like the art. And they show the guy that was making the art, and there was like a little pun in that episode where they show the art, and they show how from the art they made a little character. And I was like, what the hell? It doesn't look at all like the thing that I just draw. But I mean, it was based on the capabilities of the system back in the day. So that was
imagination, which he kind of said too. I mean, you see the art, and then that's what you're playing with. So just take it in your head, and
it was a big help. At least being able to see the character moving around.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, just to your point of imagination, I so vividly remember this. If a video game didn't have like a very, and even sometimes if it did, like a very set main character, like Vector Man or Aladdin, or if they're not a named hero, me and my friends would name the characters and pretend to be that character through the whole game, and we would just write this story to each other. We would say, hey, this is we're gonna call him Chaos, and he, or Hellman or whatever, and we sort of wrote our own stories in our head, and if he died, then we'd do another playthrough and we'd make another character. Okay, Hellman died, so Darkman has to go now, and we believed it because it was so easily presentable.
Mm-hmm. It's basically a game where they put all their things that they were like in this world they created in their minds into something more tactile, and I believe that's what sold this. I believe that's what created gaming in the first place, because first of all, it was mainly books or Dungeons and Dragons, which is basically creating your own story. And these stories in Dungeons and Dragons, that's a game that can last years if you have like a campaign that bulk, where you're
some
this
of those do last years.
Yeah, so it's crazy, and transport that into a medium where you not only talk about these characters and imagine their deeds, but also manipulate them in the screen. When back in the day, the only thing that existed that way was the television, was a passive entertainment. Make it an active, interactive entertainment. To me, was a feat of strength, man. To me, was a great achievement.
I think it's worth noting really quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but really quick. I think it's worth noting just for the documentary itself. The reason that everyone here is so passionate about it and of course we all did it. The thing is if you didn't, the documentary paints it incredibly interesting, very easy to watch, to understand. My girlfriend did not grow up playing video games. I don't know if your wife did or not, Manny, but we're both super hooked into it. Yeah. It's narrated by the voice of Super Mario, which is adorable. Yeah. I just wanted to touch back really quick on the fact that this is a very accessible documentary, super good to watch.
Yeah, super easy to understand. They explain things very, very, very good in a way that they basically showing you like step by step, like you were like the one who was creating this whole world. Yeah. And I touched a lot of bases, man. I believe I learned a lot from this. Like I kind of knew this story because I've been into this for a long time. So I've been always interested in gaming, how gaming came to be what it is today. But I believe this helped me just visualize it like in a way where, hey, we had this idea, but guess what? This technology didn't exist. So it didn't exist. So we had to come up with how we're going to make this thing that we want to do a reality without the tools. So we have to not only create this product, but create also the tools to create this product, which was really, really interesting. Also, there was a game, I'm sorry to interrupt you, there was a game that you liked, Chris, that was discussed in this documentary. I don't know what episode you left it on, but at the end of the last episode, which is called Level Up, they discussed the transition from 2D to 3D. Oh yeah, man, I know what game you're talking about. And the pioneers of those games was a game that you are a fan of, and I thought about you right away.
It's gotta be Halo, right? Is it Halo?
No, man. Back in the day, first-person shooter, the Doom? Classic. Yes, sir, man.
Oh, brother, yes.
Yeah, dude. That episode blew my mind, dude. I was like, holy.
If you haven't seen it, man, that episode is for you, man. It's like a love letter to you, man. For
you
real.
Can run Doom on a calculator. My only question, really quick for you guys. So you were talking about, Will, how even though you lived it, you were still excited to rewatch it. And I feel the same way. I kind of knew a lot of what was going to happen, but I was sort of like excited. So early on, I haven't seen past episode 3. So in the Atari episode, when they're talking about how successful and how amazing Atari is, were you guys like consciously or subconsciously excitedly waiting for Miyamoto to show up and just drop the hammer on the entire video game world? Just because I had that. I was like, this is cool, but like Nintendo's gonna happen in a couple years. Like,
kind of, I was, but at the same time, I'm glad that the documentary didn't went that way, because even though Miyamoto is legendary, because he freaking is, I believe it's just a part of the whole story. I believe there was a lot of people involved to it that helped evolve this type of medium, because Miyamoto was the creator of many amazing characters, and he was good not only at creating the game, but giving a sense of feeling to it, like just developing not only the how it plays, the gameplay, but the iconic mark on it. I believe like platformers, when you think of platformers, what do you think? The first thing that comes to your mind?
Mario, always Super
Mario.
Right,
because Miyamoto was so good about just adding the icon there. When you think about adventure games, what do you think right off the bat? I mean, I know there's a lot, but
Legend of Zelda, baby.
Legend of Zelda,
always comes to your mind. What you could think about spaceship battles right away.
Spaceship battles.
Like
Star Fox, dude.
That's what I'm saying. That I'm not saying that they're not the only one, but he was good at establishing like an icon in front of this type of gameplay, and it just immortalized those type of genre because of that. Space exploration, bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Metroid, boom, like.
Yeah.
You know
true. That
so
was straight to Metroid.
He was good at that. So it's I don't know, man. I'm glad that he was there because he's I mean, you cannot replace Miyamoto, period. But I'm glad they show us that side of Doom that I didn't know, and I believe that was the part that I got. I say, hey, I didn't know about this. I didn't know how great Doom was and how Doom helped create what we know as PC gaming today. And I'm a big PC
Miyamoto
fan.
didn't steal the whole show or anything. No.
Yeah. So
I was pretty happy with like the Sega episode. That was like my favorite because like when I had Super Nintendo and all that stuff as well, but like when Sega came out, that's when I was like, oh my goodness, like what is this, dude? Like, and that episode kind of just like blew my mind, especially like how they just created a certain game. I was like, wow, dude, like something so simple turned into that, dude. Like it was freaking nuts,
processing. Dude. Whoa.
That episode was called "This Is War," and dude, it was about the console wars. It was amazing.
That's when it first started.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So,
bring back crossplay. Bring crossplay. Hashtag crossplay. We need to.
Yeah,
we need to do this. F console wars, dude. We all had our moments. Let's start playing games together. All consoles.